He kōna ipurangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Hi, this is comedian and depressed alcoholic James Nokise, and you're listening to Eating Fried Chicken in the Shower, a podcast about headspace and happiness from my safe space, the shower, with fried chicken. This episode, I'm talking to radio host Sarah Gandy. We'll talk about cancer in the breasts.
Whenever I'd get chemo, I wouldn't look at it as poison. I'd imagine that it was medicine, and I would actually visualise boob ninjas.
Boob ninjas?
Boob ninjas.
Cancer in the workplace.
I was having panic attacks, so I went on sick leave. And then when I came back to work, I was told my contract wasn't being renewed.
And how to be a human antioxidant.
So I've had women contact me saying, hey, so I'm in breast cancer treatment now. And,
oh, wow.
And you're like, yay, but also I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And welcome to the club you never wanted to join.
Yeah.
Kia ora, come in.
Some of this will get a bit real. The language, the subjects, so make sure you're in a safe space with your comfort food. And join us, eating fried chicken in the shower. Hi, and welcome to Eating Fried Chicken in the Shower with me, James Nokise, and today I am joined by Sarah Gandy.
Kia ora.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah. It's very exciting for both of us because we first met when I started doing comedy and at uni.
We would have met in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But then really hung out in like the year 2000.
Yeah.
Just to make this sound super futuristic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we did a play together.
Which was like my first play I'd ever done.
And neither of us can remember it, except we do know that Ben Hurley directed the play.
I think so. Ben Hurley will probably furiously tweet saying I had nothing to do with that play.
No, Ben, you had everything to do with that play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we blame you for all of it. Thank you.
And it was and then we kind of went on separate paths because I think did you finish uni or did you?
I halfway through uni, I was doing an arts degree.
As we all were.
And realised it had no focus or aim. I don't know that the job prospects are great for me in this. So I changed tact and I think I became a youth worker for a little bit. And then I went to broadcasting school.
Yeah, because I think I went to the UK for a family reunion.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't seen me at all and I hadn't seen my mum like in a couple of decades. And then did some stand-up over there and then came back here and was doing some stand-up. And then went, actually, I think I'm a stand-up. I think that's why I don't want to be a theatre person.
Wow, you found your your niche.
But then you don't need a university degree to do a stand-up.
No, you just have to don't you just get your degree in clubs as you...
Yeah, but you can't be a Pacific Island kid and not get that degree.
So what do you do? So you finish your arts degree.
I finished my degree and then I moved to the UK and went straight away.
And now with that degree, you're making a podcast that involves eating fried chicken. So it's really come together.
You can't... The set doesn't just build itself, my friend. You know, you've got to get in there. We think about all sorts of things. It's a theatre and film degree as well. That's why we got the camera.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Really taking it places. No, this is great. I actually, that sounds terrible. This is amazing.
What chicken have you bought for us?
Okay, so first of all, you guys, the menu of options of chicken is amazing. Whoever researched those, well done. Congratulations.
Look, hey, we go far and wide for all chicken.
Yep, very good. But I chose Simon & Lee because it's a very good Korean chicken. But when I was going through chemo, chicken is my favourite food, and actually fried chicken is probably one of my favourite
Hello, kia ora, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm in a safe space here.
Yeah.
But the thing about chemo is it blasts everything, including your taste buds. And so if you have like a 3-weekly chemo cycle, for 2 of those weeks, you can't taste anything. And you're really nauseous. So all you want to do is eat comfort foods.
Yeah.
So my husband would take me to Simon & Lee as kind of like he was trying to treat me.
Yeah.
But then we'd get there, we'd order the fried chicken, it would smell amazing, and then I would put it in my mouth and it was like greasy cardboard. It was just like I couldn't taste anything, the texture was horrendous, it gave me, the smell was amazing, and that was it. That's where the comfort ended. So when Charlie emailed saying, what chicken do you want? I was like, I think I need to give Simon & Lee another crack.
All right.
I need to get back in there and taste the chicken.
Okay, I'm going to open it.
Okay.
This is amazing.
Also, I'm a really messy eater.
That's fine. This is like that. Well, we're in a shower. It's easy to clean.
I mean, that's great.
Here's yours.
But I'm not stripping off in front of the camera, so...
No. It's the shower. The shower is easy to clean. Shower is easy to clean.
This is great. Thanks. I like how you have what is it, not a snack bag? This is a full meal.
I think so, yeah. No, we don't go by halves in eating fried chicken.
Okay, well, thank you.
That's all right. I've got these here.
Thanks. So we just hoe it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I found out, like most New Zealanders, that you had cancer on Instagram. Like, I mean, I was outside of the country, so I think, you know, follow each other on that particular social media.
Yeah.
But how long have you? Because you still.
I'm still in treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, sorry, I just realised I didn't let you finish that question.
No,
What was the question?
the question was, are you still? It started off as how long have you had cancer, and then it became halfway through, are you still in treatment? As I changed that, but feel free to answer both of them, my friend.
So I actually found a lump in my boob in October of 2018.
Right.
And went to the GP. And I actually thought, the reason I went was because a really good friend of mine, Delaney Tabron, she's a Kiwi living in LA now, and she had just gone through breast cancer. She's the same age as me.
Right.
And I thought, if I don't go to the doctor, she will kill me.
Yeah.
So I might as well just go to the doctor. So I went thinking it was nothing. Even my GP was like, look, doesn't really feel right. Like, it's, you know, we'll get it checked, but I don't think it's anything.
Okay.
And so I was... In the back of my head, I was a little bit worried, but overall, I was like, cool, I'll just wait, go through the process. And I had to wait 3 months to have a mammogram. Like, it was
Look, I'm no expert on women's health. I'm really not. But that I would be correct in thinking that's long.
That is long.
Even by...
Yeah, look, I don't think it was great. I do think probably Christmas and New Year's and stuff, I'm guessing it plays a part because suddenly, you've got stuff that are taking holidays and, so yeah. It's a while. Sorry, I'm eating some sugar.
That's all right. It's crunchy.
Really good for a podcast. So, had my mammogram in January, and at the same time as the mammogram, they did an ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech had like resting bad news face. Basically, it was just he just I couldn't tell whether it was just his face or if it was bad news because you're trying to read into what they're looking at on the screen.
Yeah.
And he said, we're going to have to do a biopsy. So 2 days later, I'm being rushed back in for a biopsy. And at this point, I'm a little bit like, ooh, dude. And then the biopsy was, holy moly, they need to give you some sort of sedation. Because I think I had about 12 samples taken from one boob. And the needles that they bring out are huge.
Yeah.
Like, ginormous. I was like, please, could we get some NOS? Like, I've seen the maternity warders literally down the hallway, and everyone laughs at me, and I'm like, I'm not kidding. This is horrendous.
Yeah.
So we're biopsying away, and then you just go, cool, we'll let you know. The results take about a week. So at this point, everyone in the room looks really worried, but no one can tell me. I'm like, should I be worrying here? Is it really likely? Is it not? And no one can tell you anything. And I actually think of the whole journey, if you will call it that, that was the worst bit, was waiting for the biopsy results. Because you were literally going through worst case scenarios in your brain.
Absolutely.
And you have no idea what's going on, and you're really sore.
Yeah.
You're really sore in the biopsies. So, went through all that. My GP rang and said, hey, I haven't got the results yet, but do you want me to just call you when I have them rather than schedule an appointment? So because
So
you just rip that Band-Aid off. I said, yep, that's great, please just call me. And she did. And almost as soon as I picked up the phone and said hello, I could hear in her voice that it was bad news. But weirdly, when she told me, I just kind of went into like, of course it is. Yep, okay, great, cool. And asked a few questions. What can you tell me about it? Okay, what happens next? Okay, and it was weirdly calm.
Is that like a flight or fight
Maybe
sort of thing? Like,
I think you just are like, well, at least now I can get on with it.
Okay.
Because waiting is excruciating.
Yeah.
I think it's worse than anything. The what if is worse than the what.
I've got one of my things is anxiety, and I would absolutely rather know than sometimes the anticipation.
Yeah. Completely. That's it. So at that point, I went, okay. It was sort of not relief because that's the wrong word, but I just went, okay, well, sweet, thank you. Hung up the phone. Explained to my husband what was going on.
Oh God! So he's just like standing there going,
Yeah, you can see halfway through the phone call, he's like, ugh.
Oh man!
And then called up our friends and said, "Can you please come over? We're going to pop a bottle of champagne."
Because what is your cancer? What kind?
So it's breast cancer. It's a hormonal breast cancer, which means that hormones like estrogen feeds my cancer.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so part of my treatment is I'm sort of in this semi-menopause, which is great in your 30s, guys. It's a real delight. So I've spent the last year and a bit working my way through a series of hot flashes and, man, ladies going through menopause, I just please be kind to them because it is the worst. It is actually I don't know how to explain when you feel like your scalp is on fire, you feel like your whole body is on fire, you can't sleep properly, you find yourself getting agitated for no reason, and you know why it's happening, but you can't control it.
Yeah.
It's horror. It's just, yeah.
Oh my God, do you know what that sounds like? Withdrawal.
Probably. This is it.
That's kind of what withdrawal is like.
Yeah, it's just basically minus the shakes.
Yeah. And also it happens to every woman as opposed to an addict.
To an addict who, you know, I mean, that's horrendous.
Yeah.
But it probably doesn't last for the 2 years or so that most women
No,
go through
I honestly think if my withdrawal had lasted for 2 years, like mine lasted for 10 days, but if it lasted for 2 years, I'd go insane. Honestly, this is amazing to hear. And I'm not using that as hyperbole because, like I said, I found out on Instagram, your social media is so positive to the experience that I didn't really understand.
Well, I mean, the decision to put it on Instagram actually was because I realised, having the conversation with people that, hey, so I've got something I need to tell you. It's like you feel like, it's not like you're breaking up with people, but it almost feels like that. Like, you know, it's because as soon as you say, I've been diagnosed with cancer, people look at you like, oh my God, you're dying.
Yeah.
That's it, you're going to die.
Totally, yeah.
And so then the next part of the conversation would be like, but it's all okay, it's stage 3, so it's not stage 4, because stage 4 is where curative becomes a lot more difficult.
Yeah, right.
But stage 3 is aiming for curative.
Yeah.
So you're like, and in my head, I think as soon as I knew the particulars of my cancer, I just told myself I wasn't going to die from it. I just decided that wasn't going to happen.
Cool, absolutely.
And so then everybody I told, I was like, don't worry, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. But do have to do chemo, surgery, radiation.
Far out.
So it's going to be a year. But I realised that after having that conversation a couple of times, I was like, man, this is exhausting. I can't keep having that conversation, I felt this need to be upbeat because I didn't want people to be negative about it because I didn't want to carry that. So when I would explain my situation, I would be really up about it, but that is really exhausting.
Yes.
And so once I told all the close people to me, I said to Luke, I think I'm just going to put it online because then it's just done.
I mean, there's been big positive responses to it. Like people are generally, you know, it is working like in that way.
Yeah, it is. I've had people message me saying after seeing your story, I think especially women in our 30s, we're not really. Yes, there's breast cancer campaigns that tell you things, but I was immune to them. I didn't know the 9 signs of breast cancer. There's a whole lot of stuff that's been thrown at me that I just haven't paid attention to because I didn't think I really needed to worry about it.
Yeah, right.
And so I think being a woman in your 30s who talks about it, it might make other women who are maybe in that age bracket go, oh, okay, hang on a second, maybe I do need to go get this checked. Yeah. So I had a woman contact me saying, hey, so I'm in breast cancer treatment now. And,
wow.
And you're like, yay, but also I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And welcome to the club you never wanted to join.
Yeah.
Kia ora, come in.
Mentally for you, does that help alleviate the weight or is it just like a side path?
Yeah. I think it does to a degree. I mean, if I can have anything positive come out of this experience, how great is that?
Yeah.
Really? Because...
Yeah.
When I was diagnosed, someone said to me, the biggest thing you can do is look after your mental health and everything else will follow.
Wow.
And I genuinely believe that my body dealt really well with treatment because my mental health was good. Because I was positive about it. I was positive that I was going to look after my body through chemo and try and minimise side effects as much as possible. I used a thing called cold capping that freezes your scalp to -4 degrees and freezes your hair follicles basically and stops the chemo reaching your hair.
Oh, wow.
And so I probably lost about 10% of my hair.
Yeah.
But really I should be rocking what would probably on me be a pretty terrible pixie cut right now because I've done it once before. In fact, maybe I had it last time we were hanging out.
Oh my God, maybe.
And it really was not a good look on me.
Hey, last time we were hanging out, I think my hair looked more like yours.
Yeah,
so,
I think it did. Look, there's no judgment here, mate. It's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think being able to do things that made me feel like me was huge on my mental health. Really focusing on my mental health through my treatment and telling my body that it was going to, take it. Whenever I'd get chemo, I wouldn't look at it as poison. I'd imagine that it was medicine, and I would actually visualize boob ninjas.
Boob ninjas?
Boob ninjas, which were like as I'm sitting there and my little machine's chemoing away, I had little ninjas inside my boob just like smashing that out of all of the cancer tumours that were going on, just because I just wanted to give my body anything it could use to get rid of the cancer. And I have no idea whether that worked or not. It made me feel like I could do something.
Look.
It put a smile on my face, having little ninjas inside me. I have stayed pretty positive through the whole thing. Before I was diagnosed, I was actually having panic attacks and having real issues with my job. Yeah.
Right, is this before the treatment, before diagnosis?
Yeah, actually, when I found my lump, I was also having panic attacks at work and going through a problem where, well, in the end, my contract wasn't renewed. I was doing a breakfast radio show.
Yeah.
And I was having panic attacks. My doctor said you need to have time off. So I went on sick leave. And then when I came back to work to try and figure out how to transition back on air, I was told my contract wasn't being renewed.
Oh, that's...
Which is...
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
And I couldn't quite get a straight reason why.
You can swear in this podcast.
Can I?
Yeah, just letting you know.
Yeah, it was pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't quite
sounds like that.
But what was really interesting was... over that time I was working on my mental health, I took myself off social media. Like I took a massive break from that. I was meditating every day. I was journaling. I was doing all these things that, we talk a lot about all these tools that you've got. I was going to see a psychologist and doing something called EMDR.
No, I don't know it.
Oh, which it's kind of, there's... Cognitive behavioural therapy is one of the therapies, talk therapy basically, that people can have. This is another one where they use like little pulses or tapping, like little buzzers in each hand. So you have those going on, and at the same time they then ask you to start recalling memories and thinking about the emotions and what you can remember of those memories. Oh, thanks, man. Okay. And the idea is that because you've got these pulses going on, it kind of scrambles the memory in your brain a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And takes I'm really badly describing this, but there's something cognitive that it does that stops that experience or that memory having so much power. And so if you've got triggers or things that are going on in your life that are happening, that you can then suddenly go, oh man, that's kind of like something that happened in my childhood. EMDR could be an amazing tool for someone who's going through something like that to look at. And it really helped me because I was having real issues. My manager's management style was not good for me.
Yeah, right.
And it turns out it was because it was very similar to a person that had been a big part of my childhood. And that wasn't good for me either.
Right.
And so it was all, I needed to kind of deal with that thing to then suddenly be able to deal with my manager. Fortunately, then I was let go, so I didn't have to deal with the manager again.
I mean, that is... My friend, I think you've become like a Zen master of the bright side.
Like, you know what? I just was like... I mean, life's just going to come at you, and you can choose to be completely beaten down by it, or you can choose to find the good side of it. And finding the good side of it is a way less miserable existence. So, but I also think to find the good side, I mean, I've got a really amazing husband. I've got really amazing friends, and so those people, I just focused on those people. Right. And the people that are clearly not on your team, you just...
Try not to give you energy or your time to.
Yeah, because why would you? They're not giving you good energy or good time.
Yeah.
So why would you give them any of that?
Yes, my old man had a saying like that. He was not very good at handling his stuff back in the day, but one of the side effects of him sorting him out is he came up with the saying, anger takes too much energy, which I'm sure isn't his, but I've tried to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it does, because have you ever thought about how if you dwell on something, how exhausted you feel?
Yeah.
And it just takes every piece of energy, but if you feel good about something, it energizes you, it fuels you and spurs you on. Yeah. And actually when you are going through something really tough, you need energy. Yeah. Look, I say this like it's easy. It's not easy. And, especially if you are dealing with really crippling anxiety or clinical depression then those are really big barriers that you have to do a lot of stuff to get over. You can't just think positively and it magically happens.
Eating fried chicken in the shower. Keep the chicken dry. Wash away the anger.
Can you tell me what a panic attack for you when you're is this at work and radio?
Yeah, it was. I never had one on air, thank goodness, but I had them. The particular one that made me have a couple of weeks off air was I was at home. I'd gotten up. I used to get up at 4 a.m. So my alarm had gone off. I got up and instantly went to the bathroom to have a shower and had a panic attack before I'd even made it into the shower. Oh wow. And it almost feels like you're having a heart attack. Right. Like you can't breathe, your whole chest goes tight. It's this real foreboding sense of you almost lose control. You don't feel like you've got control over your own breathing in your own body. And sometimes the worst bit is you start to think about the breathing and then it just makes it worse.
Yeah.
So it kind of escalates before it gets better. And then eventually it's like you come crashing down afterwards. So then suddenly you feel like you've just been put through a complete ringer and you're exhausted. And then usually I would start crying uncontrollably afterward because you're just like overwhelmed. So that's what happened on this particular morning. And then I thought, I need to go to work. So
because when you do breakfast, I don't think a lot of people realize you're up at like 4. Is that right?
I'd get up at 4.
Yeah.
I'd be at work by just before 5. We'd meet from 5 till 6, and then we're on air at 6.
So your sleeping pattern is kind of...
Yeah, I'd go to bed at 7:30 at night.
Oh, wow.
Which in summer, there's literally kids.
There's
kids playing on the street. Mr. Whippy could drive by the house as me, a grown woman, is putting herself to bed.
Is the Mr. Whippy song triggering it all for you these days?
Totally.
Green sleeves just messing you up?
Wow, it's dark. So dark.
Surely it might sound naive, but there'd be things in place at a workplace like that. You can't be the first person, surely, that's been the whole lifestyle of that job has run.
And I actually think it's weird. A lot of breakfast hosts get a lot more leave than the average bear.
Oh, right.
But the problem is when you're a new show, no one wants you to take that leave because they just want to keep you on here because you're trying to get, consistency and you're trying to get people used to listening to a certain show. So, and I think it can be quite a high pressure environment. And if someone's saying, I remember at work saying, I really need a break. And our boss being like, you just need to hang in there. And then there's other times when it was like, I really need a break. And I'd say, we'll try and figure out a day for you to take off at some point. And then just things would keep going. And that's not them being malicious. That's just the life of just things happen and things slip by the wayside. And unless you're really vocal or you're having panic attacks.
But then I suppose you get labelled as difficult if you push back too hard. And
look, I think there's a lot of things that can make you seem difficult, and sometimes maybe even being a woman in radio who has an opinion can make you seem quite difficult.
Yeah, right.
So it is. It's really hard. The number of times that I'd look at and try and change my behaviour because I didn't want to be perceived as difficult, and now I'm like, what was I doing? Like, you're a strong, smart, confident person. But except you're not. That's not what you're doing right now. So I think getting up at 4 a.m. and lack of sleep can really chip away. Having a management style that's a bit like what is gaslighting is not good. Yeah. And it's it all compounds. So if anybody finds themselves in a situation where there's a person or a manager making them feel like they're the problem or everything's their fault, or they instantly feel like things are their fault and they've never felt that before, I would encourage them to just figure out, is it actually you or is it the situation that's going on? Because it could actually be the situation and then maybe you can get help or do something about it. But I didn't realise until I was out of my situation that it wasn't me. I genuinely thought, I was like, I've just gone crazy and this is all my fault.
For listeners who don't know, if listeners don't know, do you want to explain what gaslighting is? So
gaslighting is when somebody, it's a kind of a manipulation basically, when somebody will make you feel that will really chip away at your self-confidence and obviously your self-esteem, will make you feel like you're the problem in the situation. It might make you feel like you can't do anything right. When things go wrong, you instantly think, well, it must be me that's causing this. And will almost put you in a situation where you don't know what's expected of you, so you can't succeed.
And one of the dangers in that behaviour is that you can begin to feel crazy.
Yeah, totally. And I remember it got to a point where I didn't know, I've been in radio for 18 years and I didn't know what I was supposed to do when I walked in the studio. I'd run a radio station. Yeah. And yet as a host, I didn't know what I was supposed to do at 6 a.m. that would make my boss say, hey, great job. And that's crazy. When actually I needed to know what felt like a great job for me. Yeah. But I had just gotten myself into a situation where all I wanted was my boss to say, you're doing great. And I was getting anything but that.
No, I learned about, very sadly, I learned about gaslighting the hard way, and that I was gaslighting an ex of mine who was going through a depression. And I was saying, look, you're just a bit crazy at the moment. Like, I know you're upset, but hey, you'll get over it. You're just a bit crazy. And thankfully, she had the strength to say, I need you to stop saying I'm crazy.
Wow.
Because I'm beginning to feel like I am crazy. And that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life, that I wasn't able to support her properly and
look,
put her in that thing.
It wasn't from a malicious place.
No,
this is it.
I think that's what people don't understand. Is that often it's not from doesn't make it less hard on the person you're gaslighting.
Not at all. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but also quite equally, I mean, I think probably there are people that gaslight and know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, to be honest. But I guess that's probably why I'm comfortable talking about it, because I don't know that this person realised what was going on, to be honest. I think it was just their management style.
Yeah.
It just wasn't working for me, and maybe it worked for other people. I don't know. I mean, radio presenters are an odd breed, so who knows? I'm not here to judge. I just know that for me personally, it didn't work.
Because I suppose if you've got anger energy, then you can take that anger energy and put it into being positive towards people. That's
Completely.
what you're saying, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's just like, this needs to not be my focus, because it actually serves me in zero ways.
Yeah.
And also, if I ever want to go back and work in radio, which I probably will at some point, I don't want to feel like I've got these like big, I don't know, grudges or awkward interactions with people, or I just kind of want to get on with it. Yeah. So letting that stuff go, I think, is huge. But once again, like anything in mental health, it's really easy to say, and the doing is like, I still haven't got it nailed completely.
No, sometimes you need to crack open a bottle of champagne. Sometimes you need to sit in the shower for a good half hour. And
do you know what? Making inappropriate jokes is a great one. Yeah. When I got diagnosed and was going into chemo, I was like, I don't know, everyone processes things differently, but I decided to make a meme. You know how they do those fake Coachella posters? Yeah. So I did one called Chemogella, and it was the lineup of Chemogella, and the bands were like, The Shits, or like Florence and the Mastectomy, or My Chemical Romance.
That is amazing.
And I did this whole kind of 3-day like festival lineup. All to do with chemo, and it was so therapeutic. And then I sent it to my friend who'd gone through it. She cried with laughter. Yeah. And I ended up putting it up on my Instagram, and it became a cancer meme. Anyway, it is out there as a cancer meme. There's a whole cancer community online that are loving that lineup.
Incredible.
Yeah, but it was great because it brought me so much joy. But it also was and it was really inappropriate. Yeah. But it just, I don't know, if you can't laugh, then it's going to get on top of you. So
I reckon if you get back when you get back on radio, you should totally try and just manipulate, because radio stations always love having, we're going to have a music festival, and just see how much of that lineup you can manipulate in.
Brilliant. Guys, The Shits, they're a great new band. They hang around just long enough. Yeah. Really popular. Yeah.
Oh man, gallows humor. I've watched gallows humor get families through. Like my first stand-up came from my family's gallows humor at my grandfather's death. Like just.
Right. What a time.
Because Pacific Islanders, man, go ruthless. So,
totally.
And it's the same, I think. Yeah, it's a cancer community because it's your thing, and there's that solidarity.
Yeah, but that's it. Is that no one can really, if someone's offended, it's like, well, hey, I've got cancer, so you think you're offended? Try doing what I'm dealing with right now, and pretty much feeling the most unsexy that I've ever felt as my hair falls out, and I've got diarrhea a lot of the time, and I can't taste anything, and I'm getting fat from steroids, and I'm covered in rashes. But no, you be offended, please, you be offended by that joke. That's great, mate. That's
such
really
a mic drop. Such a mic drop. So,
I mean, come on, seriously.
Let me tell you a story, because you're talking about gallows humor. So a strange thing with when I got sober was my stepmother had stage 4 cancer, and it was terminal. So we were just maintaining.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't and in the midst of this period, and she stayed alive for a couple of years, but in the midst of this, my alcoholism was diagnosed, and I went through withdrawal while she was going through chemo.
Oh, who had it worse?
Here's the funny thing. So we used to, when I was younger, me and her, I'd go and visit them when they lived in the Pacific Islands, and me and her would often stay up late and talk New Zealand politics with a bottle of red wine. Right. And sometimes if I was coming from New Zealand, I'd bring a bottle of red wine and we'd have a glass each.
What era are we talking? We got Jacinda in action yet or no?
No, this is Clark.
Oh gosh.
So we have those fond memories, but now she's like terminal, getting mid chemo, and I'm going through withdrawal. So we're both on the family porch, covered in blankets, and I've got cold sweats. And
I'm sorry I'm laughing.
No,
but
but like it's so
looking like you're at the height of your life.
Yeah, like she's dying. I'm like mid-30s, not bad, but I'm the cold sweat, and we've both got red herbal tea now. And my dad just comes out and has a smoke in front of both of us, because that's just my dad. And he just looks at us and goes, "Oof, I can't tell which one of you's dying worse."
Yes, but that's how it is. I remember going through chemo at one point, and Luke, my husband, got a cold. But, like many people of the male persuasion, when he gets a cold, it's really just the roughest. Does not.
He pulled out man flu.
And I remember being like, I'm going through a mid-chemo, mate. And just for the record, he's done an amazing job of looking after me. So please don't think that he's very, very good. But at this particular moment, he was definitely more miserable than I was, and really feeling sorry for himself. Really. And I was like, and usually I'd be like, babes, let's get you some echinacea. Yeah. And I think at that point I just kind of looked at him, and it was like a real SMH moment. Shaking my head. Come on, mate.
Be aware, mate. Be aware.
Yeah. But no, I think you just have to be a realist.
Yeah.
And, there'll be times when a friend would text me and say, "Do you want to come out?" And I'll say, "Sorry, I'm really busy today. I'm shitting myself all day."
I mean, that's good.
Because it's what's happening. I've got some really big plans with the bathroom. That is me today. Yeah,
well, mate, I'm an award-winning professional comedian, and I can tell you that's good joking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's good jokes, mate. Well, that's good. It's high quality.
It's just reality.
Yeah. I know lesser comedians who would kill for that story arc.
They would have loved it. The work they could do. Yeah, they really would have. I mean, I had thought about trying to do some kind of stand-up with it, and then realised I am not a stand-up comedian, and is it too late to try?
No, it's no way. Never at all.
I don't know.
It's definitely not going to be the scariest thing you go through.
This is true. See, here's the thing: when I got diagnosed with cancer, I actually thought, this is great. I'm going to be one of these fearless people now, who's like really good with roller coasters, or because I hate roller coasters. I hate any of that, anything high octane. No, it's bad, and I am never. I went to Disneyland and pretty much just walked around. I went on the log flume and just about vomited with terror on the log flume. I know. I'm just not good. Anyway, then I got cancer. And I was like, I'm going to be so much better at this stuff now. It's going to change my life. I'm going to want to go skydiving. You couldn't even get me to Rainbow's End. Like, there is no way. None of that has changed.
Is Rainbow's End worse than cancer? This is the conundrum many have come. And edit.
Take me back to the rainbow. Rainbow kind of magic. Take me back to the chemo. Wow, can we even leave that in?
I'm sure we
legally.
We could probably find purest form to do the harmonies for that.
That would be amazing. I could rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah. So are you in the clear, or are you in? Are you almost in?
Great question. Well, yes. Yeah. So I did chemotherapy before I had surgery, and when I went in for my mastectomy, they just take it all out.
Yeah.
They just scrape you down, get in there, out it goes, and then they put some other stuff in there, and suddenly you've got a boob again, but it's sort of not a boob, but it is. And when they do that, they take all that material away and test it, and material. all that boob stuff away and test it, and it all came back as what they call no evidence of disease. So that's like, we couldn't find it. And when I started chemo, one of my tumours was had grown to 8 by 8 centimetres.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So, there was some work to be done.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big when I found it. It's just that it obviously
it grew
exponentially gotten bigger over time. Mm-hmm. So, it crept up. But there's a lot to zap. Mm. The boob ninjas had their work cut out for them. Yeah. But they nailed it. They bloody nailed it. So then that meant there's no evidence of disease. So that meant that realistically that and radiation are kind of helping to reduce my risk of recurrence. I also have this stuff called Herceptin and pertuzumab, which are targeted chemotherapies, and I'm still having those. I have those every 3 weeks, and I've got my last one coming up, and that is not as bad as chemo in terms of your hair doesn't fall out. But you still get... So I've still got some side effects. But I'm a lot better than I was during chemo. A lot more alive and with it, and my taste buds are definitely intact, so that's great. But once that's done, I will take a pill called tamoxifen every day for 10 years.
Wow.
Well, that's what the current research says. It's changing all the time, but and there might be other things that pop up that suddenly they say, look, you could try this and reduce your risk even more. But the reality with breast cancer is it can come back at any point. There are different types of cancers or breast cancers that had different recurrence kind of windows, but my understanding is the one that I've got. I mean, it could come back in 20 years. So realistically, I've just got to, in my head, I'm like, well, this is done. If it comes back, science is great. That's awesome. And then if science isn't so great, then I just have to think about dying. And that will happen. I mean, I'm going to die anyway.
That's true.
And I think it was amazing. Talking to my psychologist about death was really helpful. Because when I was diagnosed, that was one of my biggest anxieties, was what if all this treatment doesn't work? And even though in my head I was like, I'm not going to die, but I also had to face this reality of anxiety likes to just pop up and give you really cool ideas. And it was like, hey, but what if you do die? What about then? And so I brought it up with my psychologist, as you do, and she's like, well, let's talk about death then. And then we talked about death for an hour and a half.
Did you read the kids' book, Goose and
No,
Death?
why? I should have done this.
Oh, mate, it's no, don't.
Okay.
No, some of those kids' books that explain death are definitely for kids and not adults. Because you read it as an adult, you're like, what the hell is that?
I've gone into a K-hole of doom. This was supposed to be a kid's book. No, this was actually really good because the reality is if you die, you dead. You can't, I don't know where you go. I'm energy, so I'm guessing I go somewhere. But I don't know where that place is. I don't really have any set belief of where that place is.
Go into the ground, grows the grain, the chickens eat the grain, thus we're all connected.
Are we saying that you become fried chicken?
I think so. I think so.
Took a real grim turn.
If the universe is...
Great. I'm going to become a box with Simon and Lee. But yeah, the worst bit for me was actually just my husband or anybody else who might love me. I realised that that's the worst bit of dying, is it's way worse for everyone else. Or at least that's my interpretation of the situation. And once I realised that, I mean, it's still really sad, but it made me realise that there's no point fearing it because it's happening. It's happening to all of us. It's coming at us, and you just get to choose how you live right now. This is the only thing I have control over, is how I choose right now. That's how I live right now. I can't control anything else really, within reason. And everything is temporary. So just find some good.
Eating fried chicken in the shower, as Bruce Lee said, be like water, especially if your choices are water or chicken.
Can I ask, what's your and you don't, this is one of those times when you don't have to answer, because I'm not asking about you. What's your husband's mental health been like over it?
So good, really good. When I was diagnosed, I said to him, I need you to figure out who your friends are going to be at 1 a.m. if I'm really not well and you're not coping, because I can't make you feel better. And I also need to know that you're supported, because otherwise I will worry about that, and I also don't want to worry about that. So he was like, I get it, and kind of got like a couple of, not like friends on standby, but just had that conversation with some friends of like, hey man, if I call you at midnight, please can you answer? Because it means I really need to talk, or I'm really battling. Or, but he also, there's his best mate he plays squash with every week, and I was like, I don't care if I've had chemo 2 days beforehand, go and do it. Like you need to be out and doing that and keeping your life. And he could do his work from home, so he was home a lot, but sometimes he'd go into offices. He's a freelancer, so he'd see different places, and they were really supportive. So that made me feel better, because I needed to know he had external support. He never went to a counsellor or anything like that, and I think, it probably would have helped, but I don't think he ever got to a state where he wasn't handling it. A couple of years ago, before I was diagnosed with cancer, his mum's got Huntington's, and they only just had diagnosed it, and so he had to go through the process of being tested for Huntington's. But they make you do counselling for a year before they'll even do the test on you, to make sure that you can handle the test results.
Far out.
Yeah, because a lot of people, if they find out really struggle with the diagnosis. And I think the suicide rates around Huntington's diagnosis are not particularly great.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because the reality of it is it's really, really tough, and they can't do a lot about it. So anyway, so he'd gone through what for him was quite a tough process already, and I think that definitely helped him with his coping abilities. I think so. Even though it was a totally different thing, I think that counselling that he'd been through, and that, you know, that other trauma, and also knowing that his mum's got it, that's something that he has to deal with anyway. But I think, similar to me with my panic attacks, we went through these other traumas, but I think it kind of set us up for being able to handle the cancer thing. And because I was really pretty positive the whole way through, I think that helped, because it meant that he was like, oh, we're okay.
Yeah.
She's not lying on the couch watching 7 episodes of Friends before she even has a shower. You know, like, she's okay. So I think that made a difference as well. But yeah, once again, because his family's in England, my family's in Wellington, and we live in Auckland, so it was Friends. Man, and Friends were amazing. We had friends that brought us Boober Eats, was one of the meal deliveries.
Amazing.
And my boob bag also turned up. Was another meal delivery, which was great. But yeah, we had friends that knew how to make us smile, and, you know, just did things for us, and really understood that it wasn't just about me, it was about Luke as well. Yeah.
With your panic attacks, are there similarities that you have been able to see between when you were having them? Are they still going?
No, I haven't had one since since the one where I went into work and had to go home. I haven't had one since.
That's amazing. Can you see similarities between them and when you will have a low day with dealing with cancer? Because I know for my family's experiences, some days we just get a text message, or we get a, you know, whoever was first up will just go, it's a low day, and everyone else will just be like, yep, that's cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, it's different. It's actually quite different, because I think the panic attacks that I was having around work, I felt really out on a limb and unsupported and confused, and, you know, I really didn't know what was expected of me, and so there was all these other things at play. Whereas I think if I get weird pangs of anxiety about my cancer diagnosis, or just life, just bloody life in general, you know, my dog's just been diagnosed with cancer, actually. So
you're kidding?
No.
Are you serious?
And her first day of chemo was a year to the day of my first day of chemo, and her last day of chemo. No, it's amazing. Yeah. It's like, lol, universe, you loves it, lol, and we're gonna have the last day of chemo together for both of us. It's ridiculous.
This is the most white girl thing you have ever done, Sarah Gandy.
Guys,
me and my dog getting chemo together.
We're getting chemo together. It's really cute. Actually, I was given a little dog to keep me company when I was going through chemo, and I've now given it to my dog that she now plays with when she's feeling good, on her good days.
Does the chemo dog have a name?
Oh no, I really should have.
Is it just Chemo Dog?
Chemo Dog.
Amazing.
It's the world's cutest name. It's Chemo Dog. I could start a line.
Absolutely start a line.
Oh my God. But in answer to your question, no, I don't. I think it's completely different. My down days are different, and, you know, that the reason I brought up my dog was because that hit me. I actually found out that she had cancer the day that I was having my 1 year mammogram.
Wow.
So I'd gone through the heightened anxiety of kind of like, please be okay, please be okay. Yeah. And everything was okay. And I'd gotten home, and then the vet called and said, she's got cancer. And I think it actually compounded everything because of there had been the scan anxiety, as we call it, around that. And then it was almost like the floodgates were unleashed. So it's a different thing. It's overwhelming in a different way. But I think I've got quite a good, what my psychologist would call, meta perspective on things. So even when that's happening, I can still weirdly sit outside of myself, look at what's going on, and be like, of course you're upset. Of course. Or of course you're anxious about this. Yeah. And that's okay. And like, if you want to sit here and cry for 3 hours and watch Gilmore Girls, then you can just do that. That's totally fine. And there is no judgment here. Even though you're a grown woman, it's okay. And you're going to order crappy Uber Eats and then cry your way through it. You know, because actually, that's fine. Because then the next morning you'll go to sleep, you'll wake up and you'll be like, oh man, I'm heaps better today. And that's human. That's humanity. Yeah. You know? So yeah, very different, but I think I just have a better awareness of it. And whenever I do I'm a real overthinker. Whenever I find moments of just like dumb anxiety or overthinking, I'm pretty good at observing those thoughts and then actually going, well, what's the counter to that? Because that's not true. So the truth is actually this.
Yeah.
Okay. And really pep talking myself.
No, that's a really strong skill. I think is that something you've developed over time?
Yeah, I used to have to write it down, and I would write down if I was feeling terrible. I would write down all of the statements that in my head felt true at the time.
That's great.
So when I left radio, one of my statements was, I'm terrible at this job and I'll never work again.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe that. And then I wrote next to it the inverse of that statement, which is, you are great at your job and you'll find something you love again.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that's the truth.
Yeah.
If I give that statement as much power as I'm giving this statement, I'm going to feel so much better. And I did, and I do. It's great. And similarly, you know, if my anxiety is this cancer is going to kill me, then I just write down, no, this cancer is not going to win. It's not going to, something else is going to kill me.
Yeah.
What a great thing to think. So it's fine, guys, something else will kill me. It's not a problem. But it does, I do find it really works, and it's something I can now just think and actually kind of, if I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed, it kind of snaps me back into, oh, actually, everything's fine. Pretty quickly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That really is.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
So I'd highly recommend.
Oh, no, I highly, if you're listening to this, I highly recommend that too.
Yeah.
That's a real, I think you just dropped a life hack for some people.
Hey, you're welcome. Look,
yeah.
Pen. That and the $12 Kmart pet
And
badge.
the 12, obviously.
I'm just here to make everything easier. Yeah.
We do this for every guest because it's my safe space and I invite people into it. Is there anything you want to share in the shower that we haven't?
Oh, then we want to.
Yeah, anything, and it can be anything. Anything like you want to share while you're here.
Great question. Really great question. We've done a lot of sharing today.
We've covered a lot.
We've covered a lot. I do think one thing I've learnt is that the actuality tends to never be as bad as what you think it's going to be. The thought of something tends to be way worse than the reality. Whether that's losing your job, going through chemo, being told you've got cancer, whatever, your dog dying, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Life's great, guys. But I think the reality is the thought of those things and the build up to those things actually can be way tougher. And once you suddenly find yourself in that situation, you can handle it and it's okay. And the number of people that are like, oh, you're so brave, I don't know how you go through it. And I'm like, no, you just do. Like if you and I really hope you don't get a call saying you've got cancer tomorrow, but if you did, I'd be like, James, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to get through it. I can't tell you you're not going to die, but you're going to be okay. And it's not going to be as horrendous, or it doesn't have to be as horrendous as you might think it would be.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a very, very powerful statement, to be able to say, is that because I think, especially with film and TV, when we're presented images of cancer, it's it's always a brave story about the end.
Yeah, and it's someone that's like bald and skinny and can hardly walk, and they're like maybe in a wheelchair with a blanket over them.
Oscar.
Yeah, it's completely that, and that's actually not the reality. And for some people it is. Like, don't get me wrong, that is, but everyone is different, and also a lot of people are walking around going through chemo right now, and you'd have no idea.
Yeah,
Are just getting on with it. They're going back to work, or they're taking their kids to sports, and then the next day they're off for a nice trip to the cancer centre, and that's just the reality. But people don't see it. So I do anyway, and I think it goes for anything. I mean, that's cancer, but there's a lot of things in life that, if it came down to it, you can totally handle it. Just tell yourself you can. Yeah.
That's a magnificent thing to end on.
Great. Just
positive reinforcement.
Just tell yourself. I sound like Ron Burgundy. Just tell yourself you can.
Just tell yourself you can.
Does that work?
I love chicken.
I love chicken. I don't know. No, anyway.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Eating Fried Chicken in the Shower was produced for RNZ by Charlie Bleakley and Fruit and Nuts Limited, and presented by me, James Nokise. The engineer was Blair Stagpool. The executive producers for RNZ were Justin Gregory and Tim Watkin. Subscribe to our podcast however you just found this podcast. Or, if you're listening on the radio, go to RNZ's podcast page and look for the chicken. And when you rate us, only give us 5 stars. Remember, more stars, more chicken. And if you want to share your safe space or comfort food, tweet me at James Nokise. If you need support, text 1737. Or for more resources on mental health, check the Fried Chicken webpage at rnz.co.nz. If you're experiencing COVID-19 related mental health issues, go to health.govt.nz and search for COVID-19 mental health and wellbeing resources. We'll also link to it on the RNZ page. Whaftailava, matewa.